Welcome to Product Growth Stories, where today we're cutting through the AI hype with two leaders that are actually delivering enterprise results. Meet Chris and Steve from SaSy Labs, who are transforming how Fortune 500 companies implement AI solutions that drive real revenue. They've really cracked the code on rapid deployment, so helping organizations go from concept to production in just 6 weeks. They're going to share their battle-tested playbook for selecting high-impact use cases and basically how to get around AI pilot purgatory traps. This episode reveals exactly how top institutions are using Microsoft Copilot to drive results. Steve and Chris, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here. Chris, can you just tell us about your journey from being an integrator and a solutions provider to now offering AI implementation and Microsoft Copilot services?
Sure. I've been involved in technology for over 30 years. I've seen some of the latest technologies completely transform the way we deliver business. Last October, I had the chance to witness through some of my friends at Microsoft about the new Copilot agents coming to the market. What I saw appeared to be thinking for itself. The way we've done traditional software building for the last 7 years is about to dramatically change. Things that once cost millions of dollars, we can now do very cost effectively. Now, in fact, what came out last hasn't even been able to be done in our lifetimes. The whole world is about to change. When I sat down with Steve and the team, I said, we need to figure out how we go to market productizing this new AI world that's now upon us. Steve and our team started putting together offerings where we could help our enterprise customers leverage AI in a timely manner, very cost effectively. So it's about to change the whole world. And our organization, we've completely pivoted and changed traditional custom software building and now adopted this new way of developing agents. It's pretty much AI first, whereas in the past it was software and AI second.
You're working a lot in the financial sector and the healthcare sector, and there's a lot of executives that are unsure about AI. What's the biggest misconception that you found they have about AI in finance?
It's different between what business group we talk to. If we talk to HR, they're always fearing the loss of jobs. Whereas in fact, this isn't about losing jobs. It's about how do you retrain your existing staff and how can you add more technology to them to make them more competitive and offer more customer services to your clients. In the financial sector, there's a lot of opportunity and they do have the funds where they can do that. Where they're lacking is the internal skill sets, and that's where we come into play. They're very ecstatic and happy to see that there's an organization like ours that is purely trained on this one mission, on this one goal.
And something I hear a lot in the industry is AI pilot purgatory. People get stuck in just pilot projects, maybe just workshops that aren't really delivering ROI. Why does that happen, and how do they break out of that cycle?
It's funny because we have a number of, we do a lab, and the lab is actually going to define the use case. And we interviewed business analysts all around the world to be able to facilitate these labs. I call it analysis paralysis. Customers don't want workshops. They don't want days and days of figuring things out. They have a pretty good idea of what the use case could be, and they immediately want to go right into building out an MVP prototype. And that's where we come into play.
Pilot purgatory.
Yeah, there's analysis paralysis. CEOs, presidents, COOs, they want a very quick lab that we do where we can identify a really good use case. And then we immediately go into the development and roll this out. In 6 weeks, they have a prototype in their environment, a minimal viable product that they can then utilize and show their other leadership team on how powerful AI will make their business. The business analysts that we've been talking to, they want to draw these engagements out. And now I'm seeing that shift from the executive level. They don't want that anymore. We have a good idea. Let's go high level. Let's define the use case and let's just go straight into getting this as an MVP in our enterprise.
A lot of people have mandates to start exploring AI, but I still see in a lot of markets, CEOs don't see the urgency. What would you say is the risk of waiting too long to adopt?
I'll give you an example. We had an urgent call from a CEO and a CFO. In the amount of time we've been talking, we would have already had that MVP built in their environment. Executives out there have a challenge because basic tools on the market introduce risk to their environment. So they have to choose an enterprise partner. We happen to have a Copilot practice with Microsoft, enables us to build right in an environment for these agents to be successful. An organization that hasn't chosen an enterprise partnership with an organization that can accomplish this are already behind. I would suggest to all C-level people need to make a choice and need to do it quickly, because in the next 12 months, things are moving so rapid. If you're not investing, you're already falling behind.
So let's talk about just going back to pilot, Steve, as a CTO, how do you see it working? How are we able to shift the value to keep it out of just like an R&D project that's a cost center and actually making something that's valuable?
Yeah. The reality is that a lot of organizations feel that they can keep waiting, but it's not going to happen. The hill is too steep to climb. You have to get in now, start using it so that you understand how you can apply to your organization, because your use case may iterate. How you leverage AI will iterate. And I saw this with a study that came out yesterday. The US government tried to roll out Copilot, and they found the feedback to be not as successful as they thought. The problem was that they weren't training the staff to use it properly. Unless they train the staff and start using it on a daily basis, they won't see that ROI.
I do see a difference between some organizations saying, oh, yes, we're definitely AI first. And that means we've allowed our employees to use OpenAI, ChatGPT. And that's very different from, let's do a Microsoft Copilot implementation to solve a more serious business challenge. Can you talk about the differences in value that you're able to provide, like technically, what you can do with GPT and make.com versus what we can accomplish with Copilot?
The strength of going on a platform like Copilot, it allows you to use tools that have a lot of frameworks baked in when it comes to guardrails, efficient processing to make sure that we can scale as it goes up. SaaSberry's point of view, our experience with decades of implementing software, we understand how to best apply and the different areas of AI to what the business problem is.
Some firms are saying it's just too complex. Do you have any examples of simple AI solutions that even a mid-sized bank or investment firm can start using today?
Understand that enterprises aren't going to have 1, 2, or 3 of these AI agents in their environment. A director of consulting services at KPMG, picture organizations having hundreds of thousands of their environment. We look at what subject do we want to enhance?
Yes.
Is it customer service? Is it our distribution model? Pick one. Don't overcomplicate things. Once you pick that one, put that into testing. Let your users provide negative and positive feedback to you so that can enhance that. Once you get that first agent working, then you're going to start seeing that it's going to open up the doors for dozens and dozens of these agents that can make a quick, direct impact in your business immediately. And so think about this. How do I make productivity get better for my employees? An interesting point on that is I'm talking to mostly financial leaders, but I have been very involved in the mining sector, the manufacturing sector, and even recently talked with a number of leaders through the legal sector. And it's amazing that I do talk to certain individuals and they're embracing AI. From their director to the CEO, right down to their mailrooms, they're encouraging everybody to experiment and play with AI. And they're even actually doing hackathons within their enterprise that are getting employees that you might not really think could have solutions to their problems, bring up on how AI can solve some of the challenges they're with. Recently, I had a senior partner in a legal firm say to me, I believe AI is going to create more work for me, because he's referencing a situation that happened a couple of years ago. The general population has to understand what's happened in the last 3 months has evolved so dramatically that it's faster and bigger than anything we've ever seen.
A quarter later, the whole landscape has changed. And I've definitely seen when you give employees and team members access, it's empowering people to make these small continuous improvements with AI. But that's way different from what you can achieve with on-premise access to all the corporate data on a secure server. It's a completely different, you can't even look at the same opportunities.
That's a really good point when it comes to access to data. Anytime you deal with AI, and for it to have the right context, you need to add data to it. But where is this data going? If you're dealing with Azure, your data will be in compliance with whatever jurisdiction you're in. You need to understand that you're not just dealing with your own internal data. Your internal data covers your customer data, and that has to be secure.
Well, from a CTO's perspective, and when you're dealing with CSOs, what are the biggest concerns you're seeing when people are talking about adopting AI? And how do we mitigate that?
From our point of view, we deep dive into understanding what the models are about and accessing the tools. For example, we've all heard about R1 from DeepSeek coming out and V3 that was released. A lot of people who jumped in early realized that they really needed to read the terms of service, because all that data, they went straight to Chinese servers. And that's very problematic.
It's not where you want to
now,
put your customer data for
absolutely.
GDPR.
Yes. And until companies like Microsoft and Amazon start having augmented version of the R1 model, did it become somewhat okay for you? You use it, but there's still considerations that need to be had.
Everyone wants to know the future, myself included. But if we could fast forward 3 to 5 years, what does an AI-driven financial institution look like? What are the things we predict are going to change first?
It is introducing new risks to them that they have a lot of pressure on, even though they're getting a number of new tools to strengthen their security in their enterprise. So they're allowing some of their users to play with and adopt these new opportunities, but they're doing it through a regulated approach. It goes up to the CISO to say, hey, these applications we will allow you to leverage and to show us and demonstrate how it's making you more productive in the environment. In regards to the financial institutions, you're going to see things like currency exchange times during certain hours of the day be extended 24/7. You're going to see that these customer service representatives that we would traditionally call chatbots on the website be able to really provide value where they can answer questions in real time, accessing data for their customers to get their customers to be able to complete the transactions or to be able to do capabilities that they need, maybe off regular business hours of the banks. That's going to change within this year, not in the next 4 years. The banks that are adopting this are going to see much more customer satisfaction. Some of the credit unions that are coming together and adopting AI at a faster rate than some of the bigger financial organizations we know about.
When we look in the finance sector, is there an AI trend that people aren't really paying attention to right now, but they should be?
There are certain groups that I've talked to, and I'm now seeing CFOs involved. CFOs typically only wanted to talk about how much and why do I have to pay for this. Now we're seeing the CFO mandated from the CEOs and their board of directors to be investing in technology. Traditionally, CIOs were there just to keep the lights on. They weren't putting any risk on new technologies. Now we're seeing that the CFOs are authorizing a budget for R&D and testing. That's enabling a CIO to transform into more of a CTO role. So now not just keeping the lights on, he or she's innovating within that enterprise as well.
If you're a firm and you're thinking about implementing AI, what's the most important infrastructure decision you need to make first?
I think from an infrastructure point of view, data is absolutely critical. It's garbage in, garbage out, right? You got to have a data strategy and understand how to deal with structured and unstructured data in a cohesive way. The Microsoft Fabric and OneLake handles a lot of that complexity in a way that enterprise make it work. We can have different ERPs feeding data in, different sources feeding data in, from images to documents to PDFs to plain old databases. That makes a very big difference. Having that infrastructure discussion, that data discussion, complete plan from end to end will make the big difference.
A data strategy is very important to understand the capable of your data. It's still unstructured all over these organizations' environment right now. So having a cohesive plan together to where we all have a central location, leverage this data through AI. The next one goes back to what I said before. Even during Super Bowl, you're seeing Salesforce, you're seeing ChatGPT, you're seeing these AI organizations talk about their product. A C-level individual, a CEO and a CFO needs to choose a flavor. They need to have a data strategy in place, and they need to say, hey, here's an organization we can partner with that's going to limit the risks of new security challenges we might have. You find that flavor, whether it's Amazon, Microsoft, Google, or whatever the big organization that you would be, you'll have different challenges than a small business. Every single day of the week, we're going to see a news release of something better coming out. Every day, there's probably 3 or 4 of them now coming out where this one's now better than that one. You need to choose a flavor, and then you can start putting your data strategy on how do we lever that AI tool set to be able to custom apply to our business to solve our specific business problems. Custom software in the past, AI in the past, has been so wide. The proof of concept is so long just to do a proof of concept. No more analysis paralysis. Choose your flavor. What is the use case? Let's get an MVP in our environment. Let's learn from that. Now we're further ahead than 85, maybe 95% of our competitors on the market. And it's opening that door to success rather than prolonging it about consistently talking about it over and over again.
This reminds me about something from R&D. You can't plan your way to knowing how the experiments will turn out. You
Exactly.
actually have to do the work to see what happens.
I started SaaSberry 7 years ago, and nothing in my entire career has had a bigger impact on where the future is coming. Start networking with the people out there. The trouble you're going to see from the vendors is they're all going to say they can accomplish this stuff. We've gone through a whole retraining in our organization. Our developers, our entire team are now experts on creating these agents. Look at it as a product rather than a long, wide consulting engagement. You want to identify what that user case is, and you want to get it in your environment to test it. Organizations like us that are a boutique, partnered with Microsoft, can fast track you. You don't have to worry about having the skill sets internally to get to the finish line of starting this AI journey.
A lot of people talk about AI agents and nobody can seem to agree what it means. I'd love to hear from a technical point of view and from a practical enterprise business point of view, what the world is an AI agent.
From a very simplistic approach to an agent, it's simply a piece of software, but it's a very intelligent piece of software. If you hired an intern to help you, that's essentially what an agent is. But an autonomous agent's able to go out and do stuff on your behalf without you getting involved. You could have human in the middle where it engages you to get approvals, but it can just go out and do its own thing.
I look at it, Jam, as something in regards to AI last year. Look at the Empire State Building, the biggest building in New York City. It's a beautiful building and it's powerful. Look at that as AI. Once these agents were introduced, as Steve just described, now think about it as unlimited Empire State Buildings, and they can all talk with each other. These agents we build for our enterprise customers, almost like an employee resource or an actual employee physically doing something for the organization to provide better service to its customers and provide a competitive advantage over their competitors that aren't leveraging these agent tools.
Excellent. And for enterprise leaders, where should we send them to get a hold of SaaSberry?
If you look at the comments below, you're going to see my calendar. I'm happy to talk with any enterprises out there that are serious about getting started.